Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Hashem Hamashayach, YAHAWAH, giving thanks to the Heavenly Father by Him. All praises to the Heavenly Father and His Son, the King, YAHAWAH. All right, and so I'm going to start first and foremost with verse 16. It says, "Let the word of Hamashayach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and in hymns and in spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Most High." Now, a lot of people think that a spiritual song is something you lift up your voice and sing like a musician. No, songs and psalms are also just speaking the words of the Most High. It's a song that nobody else understands. So when you read verses, to some it's not music, but to others it's music. Okay, to the saints it's music. It resonates within our spirits how these songs are performed. When we sing it, it is a tune and it's refreshing to other nations. When we actually sing it musically, it refreshes other nations. As you see, a lot of protesters, they sing a lot of songs, Amazing Grace, because it resonates within a lot of people. Even the slave masters love to hear the music of the slaves when they sung, because of the way we sung it, using the scriptures and the words of the Bible. They didn't know they were hearing the path to righteousness just by listening to those songs. It just sounded sweet. It sounded good. And even to this day in churches, people still sing musically a lot of these songs that resonates with a lot of people's spirits because it's refreshing. What we want to do is learn the song that the Most High is teaching us, because the song is different than what most people know. We are singing the song pre-colonial captivity. These are the songs that we're singing. We are not singing the Christian, so-called Christian after colonialism songs. We're singing the songs that our forefathers sung, okay, prior to captivity. And so let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 30. And let's go to verse 15. Deuteronomy 30 and 15. And it reads, "See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil." All right, so the Most High is the one that set all this stuff up. He said life and good and death and evil. A lot of people say, well, why is this happening to my son? Why is this happening to my daughter? Why is this happening to my father and my mother? Why are they dying? Well, the Most High created all things, and everything has a destination. Everything has a time limit. You know, we can't govern that. We don't have power over life and death other than us following the paths. You choose to follow the path of death, you're going to receive death. You choose to follow the path of life, which is keeping the laws of God, the Most High, then that's life. And that is good. That is good. Okay, let's read on, verse 16. "And that I command thee this day to love thy power, the Most High, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments." To walk in his ways, that's walking down a righteous path, to walk in his ways. As you read in the book of Genesis, it says, and let's go there real quick, Genesis chapter, I think it's chapter 5. Let's go to Genesis chapter 5, verse 21. 5 and 21. Now, we all heard the story of Enoch, how he was translated, how he disappeared from the earth. The Most High took him early. And no one found his body. No one found nothing. He was just translated into heaven. I was puzzled with that as a child growing up. I was like, how did he just take him? Well, because he walked in the paths of the Most High. This is Genesis chapter 5, verse 21. "And Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah," that was his son, And Enoch walked with the Most High after he begot Methuselah. Now, this is important that he begot Methuselah because the Most High told us what? Repopulate the earth. He said to populate. That's one of the major things that we have to do as people here is have children. If you can't have children, at least try to adopt children. Or if you got nephews and nieces, try to raise them. But one of the main things he said to prosper and multiply. That's the way we multiply. If you got, like I said, if you got brothers and sisters, you got nieces and nephews, those are your children. Because when you look at the scriptures, even MICAH, King David's wife, she didn't have no children. David didn't have any children from MICAH. Who was MICAH's children? It was her sisters. Her sisters had children. So she called her sisters her sons and daughters. It's in the scriptures. I'm not going to look for it, but it's in the scriptures. It says she had sons and daughters, but they were her nieces and nephews. So one of the main things that we were supposed to do is to multiply. All right. So it says Enoch walked with the Most High after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with the Most High, and he was not, for the Most High took him. He was not, meaning he disappeared. Gone. So the Most High will protect us if we walk with him. That's why when we go back to Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 16, it says, "In that I command thee this day to love the Most High thy power, to walk in his ways." That's what Enoch did. That's what all our forefathers did. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they walked in the ways of the Father. "And to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply." See that? That multiply is important. To have sons and daughters. "And the Most High thy power shall bless thee in the land, whether thou goest to possess it. But in thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other powers and serve them." Other gods, right? So we ain't supposed to worship other gods. Verse 18, "I denounce unto you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land." Now, when he says you shall not prolong your days on the land, it's talking about your seeds staying on that land. See? This is why there was a law in the Old Testament, whereas if you had a big family, brothers and sisters, and you have 4 boys and the oldest son didn't give an heir because he may have died prematurely and left the wife a widow, she was supposed to marry the next brother so he could give seed to his first brother to take on the land. We had royal inheritance. Our inheritance was the land. It's like today, the biggest problem that a lot of us in this land of America don't have is land. What was the first thing they took from the Native American Indians? Land. What was the first thing they took from the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans and the Haitians and the Dominicans? They took land away from us. We never was able to have land. You look at the Constitution, it was written that you couldn't possess firearms unless you were a landowner. You had to own land. You couldn't vote unless you own land. So land is important. You got to own land. If you don't own land, you don't own nothing. You don't have no rights. That's why in the state of California, and there's a lot of states that are predominantly Republican and Democrat. Now, a lot of people in different states think California, the whole state, is just pure Democratic, okay, when it comes to politics. But you're looking far and wide. Most of the Democrats are in the cities, and the cities make up only a small portion of the land of California. Most of the land of California is farming agricultural land. The further you get outside the city, it's all Republicans. So there are a lot of Republicans in the state of California. It's like in the state of Texas. You go to any city, majority of cities are Democratic. But outside, those who own land, vineyards, and farming, Republicans. Okay? And so they have more power than those who reside in cities. And so this is why the kings and queens of these lands end up being the same as those who own land. All right. This is what the Most High knew. This is why life is in the hand of the living. Power is in the hand of the living. The Most High is not the power of the dead. He is the power of the living. What good is it for us to wish for death and to try to get to heaven when the Most High is telling us, I am the God of the living, meaning you need to possess the land. So we have to have an understanding of what the Most High is talking about. He's telling us the righteousness of life, but we don't even understand it. We all like, oh, I hope to see Jesus. Yahawaah when I die. No, it's about the land. That's why the Constitution will not change. The power will never be given to us, because if we have it, then we have power. They can fight and protest all they want in the streets, but they don't have possession of land. They don't have possession of money. They don't have possession of blood, which is oil. Okay? We don't have it. So, like I said, this ain't going to change nothing. Are we going to get a handout, a holiday, or something like that? Absolutely. But it ain't going to change nothing. Okay? All right. So, verse 18. I denounce unto you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. Now, when he said you shall be few in number, it's not just talking about us being people, it's talking about us having property. Now, when you look about, we don't possess property, so we are few in number. We don't have no power. Verse 19, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and cursing. Therefore choose life, that thou both thou and thy seed may live, the God of the living, not the God of the dead. See that? That thou mayest love the Most High thy power, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land. Now, how you going to dwell in the land and live a long time if you're living in the cities where there's poverty, guns, drugs? You're going to continue to kill off your people. So how can you possess anything? Being on top of each other like rats. You're not going to possess anything. So our lives will be hanging in doubt. That's why the curses of Deuteronomy 28 are true, because we do not have the blessings of Deuteronomy 28. Those are two paths. It says, which the Most High swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. They're out there protesting for equal rights, but none of them are not trying to get any land. They're happy with apartments. Oh man, I'm going to stay right here in this apartment and rent the rest of my life. I had an uncle like that. He rented his whole life. He had a lot of children and left nothing to them when he died. Didn't have no land. What's the point? At least on land, you could grow trees. You could have mineral rights. If you own oil or gas or anything like that, if you die and you have children, that oil and gas, the attorneys cannot steal that oil and gas, that mineral rights. They have to give it to your heirs. It's going to go to your heirs. That's some righteousness about this land. It's going to go to the heirs. If you have 4 heirs, it's going to be divided. Each one are going to get 25% of 100%. If they die, it's going to go to their descendants, and it's going to split up again until it's dwindled down to nothing, until there's no more descendants. So if you have descendants, it's going to continue to prosper, because you're going to continue to get royalties from whatever you have. Okay? This is what the Most High was talking about. We can't see it. We don't understand it. Our leaders don't even tell us about this stuff. The biggest thing holding up the United States is property. Mortgages. Prisons. That's what's holding this whole place together. If the mortgages fall apart, this whole place falls apart. If the companies fall apart, this whole place. That's why Donald Trump is not tripping. You're like, let him go ahead and protest. He's not tripping over this. Look at where he's going. He's strategically going to places that has land. Oh, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Who predominantly owns most of that land out there? Black Wall Street was taken away from the Native American Indians and the blacks out there. It was taken away. That was land. Look at the strategic movements of Donald Trump. All right? Very, very important. He's not as dumb as a lot of people think. He is a rich man. Very rich man. So we have to be mindful of these things that the Most High has spoken to us. The Bible is our way to life. But we don't understand the Bible. A lot of our people don't understand it. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 12. Proverbs chapter 12, and let's go to verse 28. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 28. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. You see that? We have to learn the ways of life. So do our people know the way to righteousness? Do they know the way to death? Well, most of them know the way to death. They don't know the ways of life or righteousness. Let's go to the book of Micah. Let's get precept upon precept. Micah chapter 6, verse 8. Micah 6 and 8. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth the Most High require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with the Most High. But the Most High, like we say all the time, has many emotions, just like we have emotions. Where do you think you got your anger from, your sadness, your happiness, your love? All that comes from a higher power. He has the same thing. He's a jealous power. That's why he don't want you serving no other gods. He hates divorce. He hates adultery. He hates fornication. He hates all these things. But we have to understand that there is a charity side of it where he forgives us for these things too. The charity part of him is what he wants us to take on, because we can't control all those other emotions. We can't control it. It blinds us. Pride, it blinds us big time. Pride. Okay? A lot of us have pride, and no one has ever shown us how to control pride. No one has never shown us how to have a contrite spirit with humility. No one's never really shown us that, other than getting a whipping. A lot of us got whippings when we was kids, saying, don't do that no more. You know what I mean? We know affliction. We know how to take a beating and stop it. But, you know, our minds drift somewhere else and do something else wicked. Verse 9, let me read that again. The Most High's voice crieth unto the city, and the man of wisdom shall see thy name. Hear ye the rod, and who hath appointed it? See that? So the Most High has a rod too, like a belt. You hear the Most High's name, you're going to get a whipping. You're going to get stripes too. You want to do something, you want to commit adultery, do something, there's a repercussion for it. You may not see it because you don't have no wisdom, but when it happens, you will see the outcome of adultery. It will get you. It will sting, and it will sting hard for a long time. It's the repercussion of the rod. The Most High is showing us what to do and what not to do. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. It's all about his voice. That's what he told Adam. You hearken not to the voice of your God, but you hearken to the voice of your wife. That's why Adam fell. We have to hear his voice. His voice is more important than anybody else on this earth. His voice. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the power, the Most High, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. See that? You wonder why we're not on top. He said he will He will put us above all the nations of the earth. People get angry just by hearing that. If you say that to somebody, that my God gonna put me above all the nations, they think that you saying it. No, it's in the Bible. You can read it. It says it right here. It's written in every book, every Bible across the entire earth. The same words. He says, I will make thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of thy power. You know how many blessings come from just owning land and doing right and being humble and treating your neighbor right? You get tax write-offs. I mean, in this system, you get tax write-offs and things like that. But even when we had our land out and about, before this system, there was another system, and that was the system of the righteousness during the days of Solomon. People paid tribute to Solomon just for being a righteous king under the name of the Father. Everybody was sending him spices, and the Hamites of Hiram, they were sending him types of wood that nobody else could cut down. He was getting everything, peacocks and monkeys from different parts of the world. He was getting everything, cinnamon and spices, and people came from miles around just to see him. Queen of Sheba came all the way from Ethiopia just to see him, just to shower him with tribute, different things, because of the wisdom that he had and that he's shown it throughout the land. We haven't experienced that. We don't know what the blessings are. You could get a small portion of it while you're here, but we really truly don't know what it's like to get blessing after blessing. We know how to get curse after curse, but we truly ain't seen blessing after blessing after blessing. Okay? We haven't truly seen it yet. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now let's see if this resonates with what we see in our Black and Latino communities. Let's read verse 16. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Wherever you go, if an Edomite sees you, they're going to look at you with disgust, right? When they look at one particular person, it represents all the people. When the American society watch different sitcoms, like when Bill Cosby came out, that was a new image of the so-called black people. Bill Cosby was a doctor. His wife was a lawyer. The children were okay. They weren't crazy. They were going to school. That was something that people never had seen before. Okay? And so they were able to view us differently from watching Good Times. James Evan always fussing. JJ always cracking jokes. They were able to look at us different. So sitcoms actually are our downfall, because people see that and think, okay, this is how they are. This is where the disrespect comes in when they see a so-called black man with that's out and about, that's pretty diligent in his walks. He'll see a young guy and he'll be like, "What's up, man?" Like, man, I'm 42 years old. I'm a CEO in the business. You address me, "What's up, man?" It's disrespect. You wonder why that happens, because of all these sitcoms. So we have to understand that the Most High is showing us what the blessings are and what the curses are. Let's go to verse 17. It says, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. What is thy basket? That is your bank account. A lot of us have terrible bank account habits. Okay, a lot of us are in the negative. A lot of us end up using our savings account before we can save anything. A lot of us don't have a money market account. A lot of brothers are like, "What's that? Money market?" A lot of us don't have a money market account, because by the time you have some money in it, you got to pull it out to go pay a bill that just popped up that you didn't see coming. That's what it means by cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Like that brother, did y'all see that video of the brother who owned a liquor store? He had got robbed and he held the dude at gunpoint and made him get down on the ground. The police show up. They arrest the brother and beat him up that owned the store. They thought he was the criminal. He was the guy that called it in saying he was being robbed. That's cursed shall be thy store.
Police got a chokehold they use out here though, man. They choke niggas to death. That mean you be dead when they through. Right? Did you know that? Wait, the niggas going, yeah, we know wife. No, I had no idea.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. And cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Right? One of us represents all of us. The Most High shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto do for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. It's all about worshiping the Father. If you don't worship him, these curses come upon you. We could break down every verse of the curses, showing you how it relates to today and how the blessings don't relate to us today. We could go right through it. The Most High told us if we didn't keep his laws that he would give the land to the wicked. The wicked possess the land right now. That's what Job 9:24 is all about. The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. Because of our wickedness, we have lost everything. Book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. That says, the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Just look around, the Most High saying, look, who controls the earth? Who covered the judges? What happened to them? Why are their faces covered now? Nobody, you show somebody a picture of Abraham from the land of Ur was, people from the land of Ur was dark. You show somebody a picture of Abraham, they be like, who is that? You realize Abraham. What Abraham? Abraham of the Bible. You mean Abraham of the Bible? They'll start laughing at you because they don't know their history. They don't know the light. They don't know the truth. See? When you don't know the truth, they don't know the truth. What's I said? We would be a light to the Gentiles. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 21. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 16. It says, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. What's the congregation of the dead? It's not the graveyard. It's not people who died already. These are people who don't have in their souls, in their spirit, the understanding of the Most High. These are people who don't have the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. The Most High calls them dead people walking. He said, I give you life. Life is his law. We read that earlier. Life is his commandments. He said, if you keep my commandments, then you have life. But if you don't keep them, you have death. You're a dead man walking. You don't know right from wrong. You think you know right from wrong, but you don't know right from wrong according to the creator of the earth. You tell brothers, hey man, go plant some seeds and grow your own garden. A lot of them like, what I do? What I do? I don't know how to plant this. Brothers don't even know how to fish. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to do nothing. They don't know the ways of righteousness. The truth is being spoken, but a lot of people don't hear it. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20 and 8. Let's see what the congregation of the dead is. Let's read it, because the Most High breaks it down. He tells us what the congregation of the dead is. If you understand precepts, Leviticus chapter 20, verse 8. We're just going to read a few laws to talk about the congregation of the dead. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 8. And ye shall keep my statutes and do them. I am the power which sanctify you, which cleanse you. Okay, now here's the congregation of the dead here, verse 9. For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He have cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him. See that? That's the congregation of the dead, when you curse your mama and your dad. Let's read verse 10. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer, the adulteress, shall surely be put to death. That's another congregation of the dead. Verse 11. And the man that lieth with his father's wife, believe me, there's brothers like this, hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Remember, Reuben did this with the 12 tribes of Israel. Absalom, King David's son, had sex with his wife. He made a public display of having sex with his father's wife. That's why what happened to Absalom? He was put to death. What happened to Reuben? He lost his place in the position of the 12 tribes of Israel as far as the inheritance. He lost his place. Judah took his spot because he was the oldest son. So he lost that inheritance. Here's another congregation of the dead, verse 12. And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. See? They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. See that? Verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed abomination. You got that going on now, secretly. The Gentiles been doing that for years. It says, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. That's the congregation of the dead. Here's verse 14. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire. Most High changed the sentence. He said they shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. Wow. And if a man lie with the beast, he shall surely be put to death. And she shall slay the beast, and ye shall slay the beast. The beast got to die too. He's all corrupted. Verse 16. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. The blood shall be upon them. The Most High is great because he don't miss a beat when listing these laws. Everything that a man can even think about, the Most High got it in the scriptures just so you don't do it. Verse 17, and if a man shall take his sister and his father's daughter or his mother's daughter and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. See that? So what are these people saying that the laws are done away with? How's the laws done away with when we ain't even supposed to be doing this stuff? So it's okay to do this stuff? All the stuff the Most High just said? Don't do? The laws are still here. They ain't gone nowhere. The Most High telling us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. It's still here. Christ didn't come to do away with the law. The law is still here. That's why when people say that, they be like, okay, let me show you this one. Now you tell me if this is still here. You go to this one. Is this one still here? Is this one still here? Is this one still? They're going to be like, oh, man, you taking this the wrong way. No, the laws are still in place. So the paths of righteousness is to follow the laws and follow Christ. All right? Verse 18. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain. What is this? When a woman is on her period. And she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Most High saying, don't do nothing filthy like that, man. Don't be sleeping with a woman on her period. That's uncleanness. That's how diseases start. The Most High is giving, he don't have to go in detail about why we have to keep this law, but he already knows. You mess with a woman while she's on her menstrual cycle, she's cleaning herself. All the pollutants is coming out of her blood. And then you got some Jake that just want to lay over women because they feeling her when she's on her cycle. They catch a disease, a UTI or something like that, and they wonder why. Verse 19, and thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister. For he uncover his near kin, they shall bear their iniquity. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he hath uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They shall bear their sin, and they shall die childless. Most I changed the sentence again. You're going to die childless. All right, so Most I showing us that these laws are still in place. Because you talk to a Christian and they'd be like, oh, so the laws are done away with? Can a man sleep with a dog? Well, the Most I got a law saying you can't do it. Oh, man, it don't mean that. Oh, yes, it does. You know, the laws are still here. Verse 21, and if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. See that? This is why the brother is living, not when he's dead. He hath uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. See that? And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation. Us being in America, the Most I don't want us walking in contrary to the same likeness of them, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. The Most I hated them because they been doing this stuff. Why do you think he said, and I hated Esau? Because Esau didn't listen to the commandments. He purposely broke the commandments. He purposely went and married somebody else that his mother and daddy told him not to. So we have to understand that the Most High, the ways of righteousness is to follow his paths, nothing else. So if any of our people have done any of these things and it was in their past and they didn't know the law, Paul speaks on the words of Hamashayach. Okay, let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 8. Now, this is for all our people who repent. Now, when you repent and you come out of those ways, then you're forgiven. And that's the main thing for today. Our people need to repent, man, because a lot of our people are still in that wickedness. Or they've forgotten about the wickedness they did. You know, there's a lot of our brothers who've done wickedness that got away with it. They think they got away with it, and it's been like 10, 15 years. And they ain't still repent. You still got to repent for it. Repent for all your sins. All right. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8. It says, this is what Paul was saying, because Paul was a murderer. Brothers that were saints. So, 1 Timothy 1 and 8. Let's see what Paul says, because remember, Paul went up to the third heaven. And in the third heaven, he saw things that natural man has never seen. And Most High YAHAWAH and YAHAWAH actually ingrained him with the law and the proper way of conducting yourselves in charity. This is 1 Timothy 1 and 8. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. I'll read that again. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Now, Paul's going to explain. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man. This is a man already keeping the laws, already repentant, already doing right. Okay? This says, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. There's a lot of brothers that fit this topic. A lot of them fit manslayers. A lot of them fit murderers of mothers. Right? We talk about how the police kill a lot of our brothers, but our own people kill each other. So them brothers got to repent too. A lot of them brothers that been killing brothers was out there protesting too. That's the ill will of our people. A lot of them dudes, they killed probably 3 or 4 of their own people. I knew a brother that killed 3 dudes, man, and still got out of prison and was walking around with no remorse. Because I asked him, I said, why'd you kill that first dude? He said, because he was looking at my woman. He said, that fool was, this is just how he told me. That fool was looking at my woman, so I killed him. Just like that. And the brother was out and about walking around. He did 3 years in prison. 3 years for killing this dude. 3 years. I think he had I think he told me he had 8 years and he had to do 3 years actually in prison. But he killed 2 other people too. Got out. Hypocritical laws, man. But same brothers like that be out there protesting. You be walking side by side protesting with a killer. No different. So these brothers got to repent and come out of their ways. And they'll kill again. Once a man has killed, he'll kill again and again and not think twice. It's a lust. Some people get off on killing people. Y'all got to put your minds in the minds of Israel. We got a lot of crazy people. Look at Paul. Paul was killing and killing and killing. Verse 10. It says, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. According to what is the sound doctrine? The scriptures, the laws. That's all sound doctrine. For somebody to say it's done away with, it's crazy because the Most High put this together so well that you can't change it. Even Hamashayach couldn't change it. It's that perfect. The law is perfect. It's not like American Constitution or the Articles of Confederation. It's not like any of this stuff. It's perfect. All right. Verse 11. According to the glorious gospel of the blessed power which was committed to my trust. And I thank Hamashayach Yahushua, our power, who hath enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me in the ministry, who was before a blasphemer and a persecutor and injurious. Meaning he used to lie. But I obtained mercy because I did it ignorantly in unbelief. And the grace of the Most High was exceeding abundant with faith and love, which is in Hamashayach Yahushua. So you got to understand, Paul was able to repent from all these things that he couldn't get out of. He is saying that he already knew the commandments. He already knew the laws because he was a Pharisee, but he operated ignorantly, without love, without mercy, and without forgiveness. That's how he was operating. All right. We should all know by now is to know the law and the commandments, but to operate in the spirit of Hamashayach. That's what the perfect love is, showing others how to repent. Look at where is it at? Look at 1 Timothy, same chapter, verse 5. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5. Look at what it says. It says, now the end of the commandment is charity. What is charity? Charity is teaching your brothers. So the end of the commandment don't mean the commandment is done away with. It means that after you learn the commandments, after you read about the laws, operate in charity to the best of your ability. Sometimes you got to just be quiet, man, and wait for the opportunity. Wait for the opportunity to tell them. Wait for the opportunity for them to ask you, what is your salvation? What makes you like you are? Why? How can I change like that? That's when you offer that change. Look at Psalms 107, verse 13. That's what Hamashayach came to teach us because, man, the Pharisees did a 1-2 on our people. 107, verse 13. Psalms 107, verse 13. It says, then they cried unto the Most High in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distress. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death and broke their bands asunder. The only way they're going to do that is to ask about the truth, is to find out what the truth is, to repent of what they've been doing. Like, when you look at the Black Lives Matter, right? No one in the Black Lives Matter project is willing to change. They're not willing to change to keep the commandments of the Most High. None of them. They want to keep doing what they're doing. They want to keep smoking weed. They want to keep breaking the laws of the Most High. They want to keep committing adultery, fornication. Nobody's willing to change. That's why they stand for BLM, because there's no change for them. I said I wasn't going to go here. But how many of y'all know that it's an umbrella within an umbrella? Meaning they have, okay, for example, they have organizations that support them. I think it's like, I'm about to look right now. I think they have like, yeah, it says here, they have 28 organizations that empower black communities. It says Black Lives Matter, Black Alliance for Just Immigration. Okay, here's one right here. Now, tell me or not if this is a good organization, because this is going hand in hand with the Black Lives Matter. So as an Israelite, would you be a part of this? It says Trans Women of Color Collective. That's number 3. TWOC offers support and resources for trans women of color, a highly marginalized community. Now that's talking about transgenders. Now what does the Most High say about homosexuality? So you're going to go hand in hand in an infinity to destruction, or you're going to come out of that? Let's look at this one. Here's another organization that's supporting Black Girls Code. What does this mean? Black Women in Computer Programming. Okay, that's a good one. NAACP. That's a good one. The Common Ground Foundation. Provide greater opportunities for underserved children through mentorship, community services, and the arts. All right. Trayvon Martin Foundation. Pennsylvania Prison Society. Blackout for Human Rights, another one. Insight, Women of Color Against Violence, here's another one. So you got 28 of these, man, and people don't realize that it's spearheaded by the homosexual gay agenda. It's spearheaded by them. It has nothing to do with black lives. A lot of people don't know that you have some of these in code, like LGBTQ. I'll be forgetting how to say that. LGBTQ Fund. Now that's part of the Black Lives Matter. This organization raises money to post bail for LGBTQIA plus people who have been jailed across the country. The LGBTQ Fund also provides referrals to medical, legal, and social services to those in need, in addition to raising awareness of the epidemic of LGBTQ over incarceration. You can donate to us cause here. All right, so they're a part of the Black Lives Matter. All right.
The Alphabet Gang.
What's that?
The Alphabet Gang.
The Alphabet Gang, right. So you got Campaign Zero, aims to end police brutality. So you got some good ones, but then you got some homosexual groups in here. Here's another one. Trans Justice Funding Project. The Trans Justice Funding Project provides financial grants to transgender community leaders across the country in order to support grassroots trans justice groups run by and for trans people. Now, what does the Most High say about that? That's not the path of righteousness. So why would you support Black Lives Matter and they got this in there? So it has a deeper meaning behind the BLM. It's a deeper meaning that goes against Israelite knowledge, because we're trying to find our paths to righteousness. The paths of righteousness don't mention, well, it mentions that we're not supposed to follow the paths of death, which has to do with homosexuality. A lot of these in here, that the headline of Black Lives Matter sounds good, but when you start doing your digging and research of it and who supports them, it can cause your downfall. Do your research. That's why I said we are circumspect of everything. Does it fall within the filter system of the Most High? Absolutely not. The Most High said the paths of righteousness are to keep his laws. One of the laws is for man not to lay down with mankind, for woman not to lay down with womankind. All right? That's an abomination. So BLM is not for an Israelite. That's what we got to wrap our mind around. Let's go back to 1 Timothy 1 and 5. Let's read that again. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5. Now the end of the commandment is charity. All right? So we turn a blind eye to a homosexual brother and sister? I mean, for every person, we are to wait for the opportunity to give this truth. We're always waiting for the opportunity to give the truth, whether they be homosexual or not. Whether they agree with it or not, that's up to them. But we are to admonish them. How many times? How many times should we admonish brothers and sisters about the truth? Anybody know? Anybody know how many times?
I think 3 times. Or 2.
2 times, man. Where's that in the scriptures? Anybody know?
I know it's in the New Testament, but I can't think of it now.
I think it's, yeah. Let's go to Titus 3 and 10. A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonish, reject. Anybody knows what a heretic is? Let's look it up. Just to be clear, so we all know what a heretic is, and not guesstimate what it is. A heretic, a person believing in or practicing religious heresy. Now, does that make sense? A man that don't you have homosexuals in Christianity? Do they believe in the Bible when you start breaking it down to them? No. They say, well, my religion don't teach me that. My religion teaches me love. But what does the Bible say? That's the majority of our people. They're heretics. A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition, reject, knowing that he that is such is subverted and sinneth, being condemned of himself. When you look at YAHAWAH, did he admonish brothers and sisters? You have to look at the strategicness of YAHAWAH. YAHAWAH went to eat and drink with Republicans at a party. Was he admonishing them? He wasn't really admonishing them. He was giving them charity because he knew that they was sinful. He already knew they was beyond sinful. So you just don't start breaking out laws. Brother, you ain't supposed to do that. Brother, you ain't supposed to do that. You don't just start pointing fingers. You only do that when they ask and they want to learn the truth. But if they're not trying to learn the truth, you don't just, brother, you ain't supposed to eat pork. Brother, you ain't supposed to eat catfish. Because now you're making an enemy. Because they're going to continue to do what they want to do. A lot of people, when you come at them like that, this is why when YAHAWAH went to deal with the Republicans on that level, eating and drinking, the disciples didn't understand. But YAHAWAH was showing that humility and that charity of not coming down on them real quick. He was really trying to show them how to get salvation. He's like, look, man, you got to believe in the Father. You got to realize who we are as a people. We were a people of ordinances and statutes and commandments. We were always a righteous people. You know, and when you come at a person like that, you're on the same page with them. Because most brothers and sisters are going to be like, yeah, we were kings and queens. Yeah, we know that. So you have to meet them that way until they start seeing the way that you see, and then you start giving them, hey, yeah, man, this is why we were this way. We kept these laws like this. Oh, really, brother? So they could go either that way or they could go the opposite way. They go the opposite way. So I says, tell them once, tell them twice, don't tell them no more. That's it. They're a heretic. A lot of the heretics will go into this chapter, Romans chapter 14. This is where they will get a lot of our brothers and sisters confused. Romans chapter 14, verse 1. It says, in that him that is weak in the faith receive you, but not to doubtful disputations. Remember that, but not to doubtful disputations, meaning to be railing, going back and forth, back and forth. Have some humility. It says, for one believeth that he may eat all things, another who is weak eateth herbs. You got brothers that are vegans. They think that's the right way. They think you're not supposed to eat no meat. And I mean, in this day and time, eating meat can condemn you with all these different things that they're putting in them. But those who raise their animals, you know, you can't get mad at a brother who eat meats like that, you know. But it's a form of charity. It's a form of humility. Verse 3, let not him that eateth despise him that eateth not. And let not him which eateth not judge him that eateth. For the Most High received him. So the Most High is going to receive him if he believes, if he changes his heart and he repents and tries to learn the salvation and the story of our people. Most High is going to still receive him. It says, who art thou that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he shall be holden up. For the Most High is able to make him stand. The Most High, don't never underestimate people. They can come to this truth at a late hour. Just because they're not changing right away don't mean that they can't change. Verse 5, one man esteemeth one day above another. All right? So some of y'all coming to the truth, y'all think y'all better than people who ain't in the truth. Another esteemeth an every day alike. Some brothers stay in the truth. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. All right? Let them be fully persuaded. This is when they ask you those questions. What is your salvation, brother? Let's go to 1 Peter 3 and 15. We'll come right back to this, so keep a finger on that. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. It reads, but sanctify the Most High, the YAHAWAH, in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer. When he says sanctify the Most High in your hearts, that means to be fully persuaded in the Most High. It says, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks of you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear. All right? This is what Yahawashi was doing. He was teaching them about salvation. Look, man, if you don't repent, you will perish. You will likewise perish. That's the fear. I don't want to perish. I don't want to die. How can I receive everlasting life? First, you got to believe. First, you got to love the Father. First, you got to love your brother. Then you start dropping the other commandments. Boom, 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 boom. Slowly, not quickly. It says, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Hamashayach. A lot of people accuse you because they don't understand what you're in. They don't understand that you're in the basic thing. You're not in a religion. You're just trying to do right. You're just trying to keep the laws of God, of the Most High. They don't understand that. They're like, man, I don't understand this brother. He's not in Catholicism. He's not a Seventh-day Adventist. He's not a Christian. I don't know. He don't belong to nothing. He must be in a cult. No, brother, I'm just keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Just like me. Verse 18, for Hamashayach also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to the Most High, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. That's what it's all about, being quickened in the Spirit. Some brothers you can see take off right away. Boom, they get this truth, they're running. It quickens them quick. They learn so much information because they're hungry. But some people, it's a slow process. It's all for us to get to the righteousness paths of the Most High. Let's go back to Romans 14. Romans 14 and 6. It says, he that regardeth a day regardeth it unto the Most High. And he that regardeth not the day to the Most High, he doeth not regard. It's brothers that wake up, don't pray, don't do nothing. They don't pray until they get in trouble. He that eateth, eateth to the Most High. But he giveth the Most High thanks. And he that eateth not, to the Most High he eateth not, and giveth the Most High thanks. For none of us live to himself, and no man dieth of himself. Remember, the Most High controls our walks. When we don't walk righteously, we walk in the paths of destruction. When we walk righteously, we walk in the paths of righteousness, of protection. He created all things for himself. Proverbs 16:4, all day. It says, for whether we live unto the Most High, and whether we die unto the Most High. Either way, whether people don't believe or not, the Most High is still going to stand. Whatever if brothers don't believe, what's that? Romans 3:3. You got people like that just don't believe. Look at Romans 3:3. For what if some did not believe? What if some didn't believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? The Most High forbid. No, they not going to change this word. They're going to die and have to stand before the Father, and every man shall bow before him. It says, yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written. See that? As it is written, this word is going to be here to the end of time. So can't nobody change this. Verse 9. Verse 9. It says, for to this end Hamashayach both died and rose and revived, that he might be Hamashayach both of the dead and living. But why do thou judge thy brother? Or why do thou set at not thy brother? We shall all stand before the judgment seat of Hamashayach. That's right. We all going to stand. But you know what? What's going to make the difference is those who try to keep the laws to the best of their abilities and repented. That's going to make the difference when we all stand. It says, for it is written, as I live, saith the Most High, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to the Most High. What are you going to confess? What works are you going to confess? What faith are you going to confess? Some brothers going to confess the wrong faith. They're going to choose wrong. There was a show that came on. They haven't put it back on, but it's been going through a lot of ups and downs just to be put back on the air because it affected Jake. It was called on HBO. What was the name? Something Gods. Something. I forget the name of it. Something Gods. But anyways, on the show, they had something similar to when those that die, their spirit would go into this realm where they would be judged. This guy was coming from Egyptian philosophy, and he had the scales in front, and he would take this feather and he would say, okay, let's see what your life was worth.
I was using that.
We shall see if you have used it well. Your best is good. I must take your heart. I must weigh your heart.
Against a feather. I can already tell you who wins. I lived my life, good and bad. Definitely not light as a feather. Where are you going? Where am I going?
You pass through.
Where do I pass through?
In life, you believed in nothing. You will go to nothing. You will be done. There will be darkness.
In peace?
There will be darkness.
You know what? No.
There is nowhere else for you to be.
Well, I'm not getting in there. I want to go back.
Already your flesh has been moved, has been cut by the doctors who inspected your organs. Already your loved ones have selected for you the clothes to shroud your decomposition. Already you are in the ground. Tears have fallen for you.
Do I get a say in this?
Death is not a debate. How many do you think have come before you? All with promises and threats and offers of glory, gold, love. Who are you to misguide me from my duty? You are but a man, not even one I should remember. You will go into the darkness, and I will forget ever having met you.
Even Esau and these other nations know that there is a crossroads. And every knee is going to bow, not to these Egyptian gods, but they're going to bow to the Father in heaven, YAHAWAH, by Hamashayach Yahushua. Verse 12, so then every one of us shall give account of himself to the Most High. Let us not therefore judge one another any more, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. Just like the sister said. I did that before. I can't be up there telling them what they're doing is wrong. Well, you actually can. The stumbling block is when you're drunk. Right here. Let's go to Matthew 7. And drunk is a form of just being lost. Matthew chapter 7 and verse, let's see. Let's go to Matthew 7 and let's go to verse 1. Because this is what a lot of people say when they don't know the scriptures. It says, judge not that ye be not judged. Now this is Yahawah's word. Judge not that ye be not judged. So don't judge me, brother. Right? It's a whole process. So you got to have charity. That's a process. You have to wait for that opening to teach. That's a process. And then once you analyze and cross-examine the brother or sister that you've given the truth to, if you're not in the same sin, this is when you break this down. Judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment you judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considers not the beam that is in thine own eye? For example, if you're a crackhead and you got a friend that's a crackhead, what kind of advice can you give another crackhead if you still on crack? It's all null and void. Y'all in the same boat. You can't judge. Look at verse 4. Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mite out of thy brother's eye. See that? So you got to get rid of the sin that you're in, repent, change for a long time. Then you can tell your brother, look, man, I've been clean. I ain't used drugs in 5 years, man. I came to the truth. I didn't stop. I used to gangbang. I don't gangbang no more, man. I came to the truth and I stopped, man. I ain't did that in 10 years. Now you could tell them, man, this is where you messing up at. If anyone could be that person to help them, it's you once you've changed. A lot of people see themselves in other people. And the first thing to make them resonate with another person is somebody who's been through the same thing they've been through. So in order for you to change, if you see somebody that's been through what you've been through and changed, that's a blessing. The beauty of YAHAWAH in the scriptures is the law is so powerful, it quickens the spirit to change. You get what I'm saying? It quickens you to change. Because what I was speaking about earlier, about when you resonate with another person, that goes on in programs. Alcohol Anonymous and things like that. That's what they use to get people out of it. But the beautiful thing about the truth is All you got to do is teach it, and the Most High going to do the rest. That's the beauty of the truth. You ain't got to be in there. Yahawaah wasn't in none of that. He was pure. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mite out of thy brother's eye. And there you go. That's how you deal with that. But Romans 14 is what a lot of people who are not in the truth pull out on you. Brother, you ain't supposed to be eating pork. Well, Romans 14 said that I could do it. This is, you ain't supposed to judge me for what I eat. First thing they pull out, but they don't understand the scriptures. They err in the scriptures. All right. Where was our people called Christians first? Do y'all know? Where were we called Christians first? Because the Israelites were the first Christians, but it was based on a mocker. What city was Antioch? Antioch. Not Antioch in the United States, but Antioch in Turkey. Okay. So I want to show y'all something. Let's go to Acts chapter 11, verse 26. Acts chapter 11, verse 26. And I think this is important for you to know because this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are called Christians today. Acts chapter 11, verse 26, and it reads, And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians. They were called, even though they were still Israelites, they were called Christians first in Antioch. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch. So Antioch was a pretty prominent city back in those days. I said that we was going to look at a few other books. The book of Josephus, I want to go there. I want to go to, if you have it, and you can read along. If you don't have it, you can just listen. But the city called Antioch is very prominent when it comes to Christianity. All right. A lot of Christians think when they said this, they were talking to all Christians, right? But when we go into the book of Josephus, it's going to break it down. We're going to go to the Jewish War, book 7, chapter 3. If you have the book of Josephus, and the version that I'm using is the New Complete Works of Josephus, translated by William Whiston, commentary by Paul L. Meyer. Now, Josephus, who was he? He was a historian. He kept records of everything that we had in Jerusalem, and he carried it with him into the Roman Empire. And he was the scribe for Titus and Vespasian. Those are the two generals who conquered Jerusalem in 70 AD. So they took him as a scribe, but he kept the records of our people. Okay, there were records on us. And in this book, it talks about the records, believe it or not. It talks about how the priests kept records of everything. So we know that we are the Israelites, and they have never brought forth those records. Why? Why have they not shown us those records? It'll make you think. So the Jewish War, book 7, and we're not Jewish, we're Israelite. Book 7, chapter 3, and I'm going to read this, and I want y'all to hear about Antioch, and this is the reason why we were calling ourselves Christians. And the title of this is How Titus, which was the general, upon the celebration of his brothers and fathers' birthdays, had many of the Israelites killed, concerning the dangers the Israelites were in at Antioch by means of the transgression and impiety of one Antiochus, a Jew. So there was an Antiochus that was a full Greek, and in this particular chapter, there was a brother who was an Israelite. His name was Antiochus. But let me remind you, because it talks about how these generals' birthdays they came, and a lot of Israelites were killed. Now, pay close attention to birthdays of kings and presidents. And I say this because Donald Trump just had a birthday. Generally, right around the time of every president, every king of all these captivities, there's a large amount of Israelites that die. Donald Trump's birthday, I think it was the 17th or the 16th of this month. A lot of brothers died prior to him hitting his birthday. Same thing last year. Do a research. I invite you, brothers and sisters, to do your research. All through history, we've always died during kings' birthdays. I'm going to read. It says, while Titus was at Caesarea, he solemnized the birthday of his brother Domitian after a splendid manner, and inflicted a great deal of the punishment intended for the Israelites in honor of him. See that punishment intended for the Israelites? For the number of those that were now killed in fighting with the beast and were burned, who's the beast? The Roman Empire, and fought with one another, exceeded 2,500. Yet did all this. I mean, it's amazing. They put the beast in here. I mean, they're making it real easy for you to figure out who the beast is, right? When the Most High breaks down who the beast is, it's the Roman Empire. It says, yet did all this seem to the Romans, when they were thus destroying 10,000 several ways, to be a punishment beneath their deserts. After this, Caesar came to Bertus, which is a city of Phoenicia and a Roman colony. This is in Africa. And stayed there a longer time, and exhibited a still more pompous solemnity about his father's birthday, both in the magnificence of the shows and in the other vast expenses he was at in his devices thereto belonging, so that a great multitude of the captives were here destroyed after the same manner as before. You see that? So every year, Israelites would get punished or die around this king's birthday. And you can read about that too in the book of Maccabees. Brothers died. You can read about that too in the Babylonian captivity. Brothers died. All captivities. All right. 41, section 41. It happened also about this time that the Israelites who remained in Antioch were under accusations and in danger of perishing from the disturbance that were raised against them by the Antiochians. And this both on account of the slanders spread abroad at this time against them, and on account of what pranks they had played not long before, which I am obliged to describe without fail, though briefly, that I may the better connect my narration of future actions with those that went before. For as the Israelite nation is widely dispersed all over the habitable earth among its inhabitants, so it is very much intermingled with Syria by reason of its proximity, and it had the greatest multitudes where? In Antioch. So if they were getting accusations put on them by the king about being Israelites, why do you think they would keep the name Israelites? Why do you think they changed their name to Christians? It says, by reason of the size of the city wherein the kings after Antiochus had afforded them a habitation with the most undisturbed tranquility. So he gave them a reservation, so to speak, like the Native Americans have. He gave them a little reservation, the Israelites. For though Antiochus, who was called Epiphanes, laid Jerusalem waste. That's the Greek Antiochus. So this brother, his name was Antiochus too, and he thought he was better than his predecessor with the same name, Antiochus. So this is a black man trying to be a so-called white Greek man because he had the same name. He felt like he had power. And plundered the temple. Yet did those that succeeded him in the kingdom restore all the donations that were made of brass to the Israelites of Antioch, and dedicated their synagogue and granted them the enjoyment of equal privileges. That's what our people are trying to do, right? Trying to get the equal privileges. No justice, no peace. Black Lives Matter. I want y'all to listen to this because this is what's going to happen here. It's the same thing played out. It says, of citizens with the Greeks themselves. And as the succeeding kings treated them after the same manner, they both multiplied to a great number, and adorned their temple gloriously by fine ornaments. They had the temple, and with great magnificence in the use of what had been given them. They also made proselytes of a great many of the Greeks perpetually. They were Greeks. They were following the ways of the Israelites. Just like we got with the Black Lives Matter. Got a lot of Edomites out there. And thereby after a sort brought them to be a portion of their own body. But about this time when the present war began, and Vespasian was newly sailed to Syria, and all men had taken up a great hatred against the Israelites, just like they're doing now with the blacks. You got Edomites calling themselves Black Lives Matter. They all under that umbrella too. Then it was that a certain person whose name was Antiochus, here go that brother, being one of the Israelite nation, and greatly respected on account of his father, who was governor of the Israelites at Antioch, came upon the theater at a time when the people of Antioch were assembled together, and became an informer against his father, and accused both him and others that they had resolved to burn the whole city in one night. He also delivered up to them some Israelites that were foreigners, as partners in the resolutions. When the people heard this, they could not refrain their passion, but commanded that those who were delivered up to them should have fire brought to burn them. What was they doing? Burning the police departments, burning the cities here, who were accordingly all burned at the theater immediately. They did also fall violently upon the multitude of the Israelites, as supposing that by punishing them suddenly they should save their own city. As for Antiochus, he aggravated the rage they were in, and thought to give them a demonstration of his own conversion and of his hatred of the Israelite customs. He hated Israelite customs. By sacrificing after the manner of the Greeks, he persuaded the rest also to compel them to do the same, because they would by that means discover who they were that had plotted against him. Keep in mind, the Israelites was not doing this. This was the other people doing this in their cities. So it looked like the Israelites were doing it. Since they would not do so, and when the people of Antioch tried the experiment, some few complied, but those that would not do so were killed. As for Antiochus himself, he obtained soldiers from the Roman commander and became a severe master over his own citizens, not permitting them to rest on the seventh day, but forcing them to do all that they usually did on others' day. And to that decree of distress did he reduce them in this matter, that the rest of the seventh day was dissolved not only at Antioch, but the same thing which took form from them, its rise was done in other cities also, in like manner, for some small time. I'm going to read 1 to 2 sentences here, 54. Now after these misfortunes had happened to the Israelites at Antioch, a second calamity befell them, the description of which when we were going about we promised to account for going. For upon this accident whereby the foursquare marketplace was burned down, as well as the archives and the place where the public records were preserved. There are records, and the royal palaces. And it was not without difficulty that the fire was then put a stop to, which was likely by the fury wherewith it was carried along to have gone over the whole city. So what you see here is one, the king's birthday, and accusations were made against the Israelites. A lot of them were put in the ward. What you have, secondly, is their church or their theater was burned up. Thirdly, what you have is a brother who was an Israelite of the same nation, rose up to bring more accusations on brothers and to punish them and to kill them. So we got brothers like that now. And fourthly, what do you have? Brothers in other cities were getting their temples burned down, and their records and the public information. So this stuff is happening the same way now. It's the same thing all over again. So the more that we protest, the more that we riot, they find other ways to get us. They send our own kind after us to destroy us. Same stuff going on. We got to look and see the games, man. The games have been going on for like centuries. Same stuff. Same stuff. So we got to remember what the Most High told us. And we have to also, when dealing with our people, not get involved with doubtful disputations. Because this man hated the law. He hated it. How did he hate it? Something happened in his life. He just loved being a Hellenist. Isaiah 49. Yeah, if you have that book of Josephus, just highlight that if you can, or mark it, or put it in your notebook, because that has a lot to do with the city of Antioch, on how they stopped calling themselves Israelites. They took away the Sabbath day. They took away our customs. They took away our records. So we didn't have that power. They took all our power away, and they put fear into those communities where we stopped following our heritage, where we start calling ourselves another name, which was Christians. All right, so remember that. Like I said, Josephus is a historian, and he recorded these things for us to go through. A lot of brothers don't talk about the Josephus, the book of Josephus, but he was one of our true historians who recorded a lot of information for us that go hand in hand with the scriptures. I want to go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 49, and let's read verse 5. Isaiah 49 and 5. And now saith the Most High that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Most High, and my power shall be my strength. This is how Paul was thinking. He's like, man, I got to go and tell these people. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth, because we were scattered into all nations. So we are a light to our people. Our people had just come out of that Grecian captivity into the Roman captivity, and they were defiling themselves for years. The last thing they wanted to do is for us to insult them on the foods that they were eating. And food is a big thing now. Look how big the food industry is. People love to go out to eat. They love to go to restaurants. It was an insult for somebody to say, man, you can't be eating that pork and this and that. So Paul had to come at them a totally different way. They didn't want to be insulted on their customs because they had already been there 2 generations. You had children or teenagers wanting to blend in with the other teenagers. They didn't want to own up to the old customs because it was like, oh, that's what we used to do. So they were all adopting these new customs. And then here comes Paul trying to tell them, hey, no, you guys didn't understand the old customs. Our old customs, we have a new covenant, which is with YAHAWAH. He's teaching us the new covenant that's coming in. You have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared. You are who this wisdom was given to. So it was all about just getting them first to believe in Hamashayach and telling them about the lost heritage. That's what it was all about. Look at James 1:1. If you don't believe me. First thing he said in this letter. Now he's writing letters, and he sent hundreds of letters back and forth to the churches in Europe and Africa and all over. But the ones that are prominent are the ones that went to the churches in Europe. The book of James chapter 1 verse 1, it reads, James, a servant of the Most High and of the Hamashayach Yahushai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. This when we repent out of them. All right, so he sent this letter to the 12 tribes of Israel that were scattered. Very, very important. Paul was waking up the tribes with their heritage. And then he strongly taught them Hamashayach Yahushai. Strongly taught them that. go to Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 21. It reads, if so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him as the truth in Hamashayach, that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on that new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor. For we are all members of another. We are all family members, man. We are all Israelites. But ye be ye angry and sin not. Let the sun go down upon your wrath. Because he knew this was going to be tough. Trying to wake up our people, it was going to be tough, man. It's going to be accusations made. You're going to be making brothers mad. Some brothers don't know how to break down scriptures. And there was all types of arguments behind the scriptures. All types of problems, man. You know? I mean, it came down to blows. If you don't think they curse, remember when Peter denied YAHAWAH? And the woman saw him, she said, oh, that's one of his men. You don't think Peter cussed her out just so she couldn't think that he was one of them? He was trying to get as far away from YAHAWAH as possible. So he had to prove to her he wasn't one of the disciples. He was cussing her out. She said, nah, I guess it ain't him. I guess he ain't one of them. They don't be cursing like that. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on during them days. And we have to understand how they were dealing with that stuff. Our brothers just come straight out and say it. They're not sugarcoating nothing. That could cause all kinds of fights right there. All kinds of accusations. Let's look at Acts chapter 26. Acts chapter 26. This is the last verse we're going to bring out. Acts chapter 26. And we're going to read from verse 1 on down. Acts chapter 26, verse 1. This is after Paul had been thrown in jail and been sent to King Agrippa. I'm going to read it. Acts 26, verse 1. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, thou art permitted to speak for thyself. Then Paul stretched forth the hand and answered for himself. I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself this day before thee, touching all the things whereof I am accused of, the Israelites. So who was the accusers? It's just like we read in the book of Josephus. Who was accusing us? Antiochus, another Israelite. Verse 3, especially because I know thee to be expert in all customs and questions which are among the Israelites. Paul was a Pharisee, very, very intelligent, very smart in the laws of the Most High. Wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently. My manner of life from my youth, which was customary, which was at the first among mine own nation at Jerusalem, know all the Israelites. So he knew all the little sections of Israelites. Verse 5, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most straightest sect of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. He chose to be a Pharisee out of all the different sections. The most strictest, the most prominent. Verse 6, and now I stand and am judged for the hope of the promise made of the Most High unto our fathers, unto which promise are 12 tribes instantly serving the Most High day and night, hope to come. For which hope's sake, King Agrippa, I am accused of the Israelites. All right, remember Romans 14, it says, though he lived for the day, live unto the Lord. Some live all day to the Lord. The 12 tribes lived all day for the Most High. Verse 8, why should it be thought a thing incredible with you that the Most High should raise the dead? The Pharisees, let's see, the Sadducees were political. They didn't believe in resurrection. The Pharisees were a little bit more spiritual. They believed in resurrection. Verse 9, I verily thought with myself that I ought to do many things contrary to the name of Hamashayach of Nazareth, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests, and when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them. He was killing Israelites. And I punished them often in every synagogue, and compelled them to blaspheme. And he was instigating them, and being exceedingly mad against them. I persecuted them even unto strange cities. This dude was going out his way to persecute. It almost seemed like the Most High made him go into all those cities that he was persecuting people to bring them the truth. He was a Roman citizen. You got to think about it. He's always going back and forth to Rome. So he was persecuting Israelites up and down the way. So his gospels are a reflection of his persecutions. Verse 12. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw on the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun, shining around about me, and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me, and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, O power? And he said, I am YAHAWAH, whom thou persecutest. But rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness, both of these things which thou hast seen, and of those things in the which I will appear unto you, delivering thee from the people, and from the Gentiles, unto whom now I send you, to open their eyes, and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto the Most High, that they may receive forgiveness of sins, and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. It's heavy, man. So he did a marvelous work doing what he was doing. He was repairing what he destroyed. And many people can't look, they can't look the same people that they hurt in the face to bring something precious to them. Many people can't do that. Many people say vain words, they hate people, and they leave it at that. They can't go back. To go back and apologize and say, hey, I was wrong. Look, we're great people. We got a king, YAHAWAH, a savior. He came back to save us. This is what I'm here to do. Very great thing to do. So Paul was showing them the paths of righteousness. And that's what this whole class is about. Having that charity towards your brother, teaching them laws, statutes, commandments, and showing that path of righteousness. And remember our history. Remember our history. Remember our records. It's all here. It's still, a lot of it is still here. We just got to search it out. It's also a reflection of what we're going through today. The thing about Black Lives Matter, the Most High is not in any of that. They don't speak on the Most High. They don't speak on the Israelites within it. So how can that thrive? The Constitution was created by our enemies, and it will continue to thrive for our enemies. All right, and with that, I'm going to say shalom. Are there any questions, statements, or comments?
I'm going to end this like this. This is how we do it. Right.
Hey, you got to teach them how to do it right, see?
This is the word of the Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.